What's up everyone, Soldier First Class here, and today's mission, we have some new and extended scenes from the newest Inside Final Fantasy VII Remake episode. For those that may have missed Inside Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1, we got a lot of new and extended scenes in that one as well. I'll link both in the description below. Honestly, there wasn't that much, but we did get some interesting information from scenario writer Kazushige Nojima about Tifa, Cloud, and Aerith. We also got to hear from co-director Motomu Toriyama. We'll go into that while also examining these scenes. Kazushige Nojima admitted that because of the way the original was made with text boxes, he had to write the dialogue to reflect that. With voice acting, cameras, and facial expressions, he was excited to rewrite the dialogue to tell a much deeper story. In fact, he claims when he was told about the remake project, the first thing he asked was if he was allowed to change the dialogue. Nojima loves the characters he helped create, and he wanted to show the fans a new side of them while also bringing out what made them so great in the first place. He wanted to dive deeper into the characters than he ever could before, especially Cloud. The team also wanted to dive deeper into Avalanche as they felt they were important to the development of the other characters and the world around them. Which on the facial expressions note, the one thing these scenes really showed off was just how good the facial expressions are, especially Tifa, who we've seen concerned, playful, and some scenes of her being happy. These scenes do a good job of setting the characters' moods, and combined with the fitting music and the voice acting, sets these characters up as living, breathing people. And I'm all for it. It's amazing how far we've come from not being able to put mouths on the characters to now being able to tell a story with movie-like quality and realism. What a time to be a Final Fantasy fan. So the first scene is a conversation between Cloud and Tifa, and I noticed what could be one of the vending machines we've heard about recently. It looks like they're in that location that may be under construction, as you can see yellow barrier tape wrapped up in the gate next to them. There's also warning signs on the ground next to the gated area, as it could also be a restricted area warning. Next we see a quick clip of Cloud having a drink inside the 7th Heaven. The camera starts on Cloud, but it pans to show Jessie in the background closing up the 7th Heaven's door. This is likely just after the first reactor mission, as the lighting is pretty dark and Cloud can have a drink immediately after you get back to the bar. Then we see Cloud and Tifa inside the railway tunnels, and the hologram creating machines are flying towards them. As they approach, Cloud and Tifa start to get battle ready, meaning we're likely going to be fighting this new enemy type. We saw in cutscenes previously that the party would fight them, but that was in cutscene form only, so we weren't sure if they were actually a fightable enemy. Next we see an extension of the scene we saw in the last Inside Final Fantasy VII Remake, as it confirms my thought that Tifa was outside the 7th Heaven in this scene. Turns out, the one she was throwing Tifa sass at was Cloud. Go figure. We can tell this is the 7th Heaven because it's the same sign flashing in the background that's in this image here, plus the door matches the one that Jessie was closing in the scene we showed earlier. The next scene we got looks familiar, but it's slightly different from the one we got in the E3 trailer, which leads me to believe this takes place in a different time than the E3 scene. We can see Barret and the Avalanche crew in the background, and the lighting is much brighter, and Tifa appears to be in much higher spirits. I would say this is probably the next day after the first reactor mission. We also got a little extension on the hand grab scene between Cloud and Tifa, but mostly just the result of the encounter as Cloud pulls Tifa to safety. Next up is a scene between Tifa and Cloud, but I'll let Kazushige Nojima explain this one. Nojima stated, Cloud's childhood friend shows him a flat in Midgar, and they come to live in the same building. It's a Japanese-style flat, and the scene itself is quite sweet, so I want people to look forward to that. I love this man's dedication to his craft and the way he explains himself. He gives you just a little bit of information, and I'm sure he'll be happy to see people's reactions to his work. I wish I could personally send him my reactions when I play the game, or he just happens to find them. I'm a huge fan of Nojima's work, as he's given us some of the greatest video game stories ever written. So the next scene is one that's entirely new for the remake project, and it's where Song takes Aerith from the 7th Heaven during the Sector 7 plate event. I say it's new to the remake because while we know that it happened in the original, this will be the first time that we actually see it. We can see that Aerith has a smudge of dirt on her face, which I assure you Shinra will pay dearly for. I'd also like to point out that the details in her eyes are breathtaking. We also see Marlene again, as Aerith is holding her back from Song. There's also an armed guard standing outside the door. It appears something has happened here in the background, as we can see flames and destruction. This isn't the dropped plate, because obviously that means that this scene wouldn't be happening. This is either another set of buildings on fire from Shinra, or something different has occurred just before this scene, possibly a firefight with civilians that support Avalanche. We saw in the tower scene that there are other members of Avalanche fighting with the regulars, so this is a possibility. Speaking of Aerith, Remake co-director Motomu Toriyama explained that Aerith's backstory will be receiving a major reveal in the remake. He stated, in Remake, we actually reveal quite a major untold part of her past. You might not catch it at all. Honestly, if this has anything to do with them expanding on the Cetra, I'm for this by all means. I've wanted expansion on the Cetra and Jenova for a long time, so I'm hoping this is what he means, or that there's something really exciting about Aerith herself that we'll discover. We got about 3 seconds more of the scene where Jessie blows up the wall that lets the party out of the Reactor 1 mission hallway. We also got a few extra seconds of Cloud jumping on the train after the party gets separated, but there's not really much to talk about when it comes to these two scenes. The next scene, however, is something we haven't seen yet, and it's the famous "look at the map of Midgar" train scene. I believe in the original game, this is where Jessie explains that Midgar used to be made up of towns, and that each town had a name. She also mentions that after some time had passed, the town names had been forgotten, and that they just stuck to calling them sectors. I'm hoping that not only is this lore kept in this scene, but they also expand on it, and we might learn the names of these long-forgotten towns. The next scene is hard to place, but one thing I did notice was the vast difference in NPC models. There are a few that look similar, but they're not exact character swaps with different color clothing, although I really didn't even notice until I started this analysis and was slowing down the scenes. I'm hoping the rest of the game will reflect that as well, because that's another thing I wasn't a big fan of in 15. We see Cloud walking towards an objective marker, with that marker being on an elite Shinra officer that we saw in the church and in the Sector 5 reactor. I would assume that the building he's standing next to has someone we likely need to talk to in it, or it's possible that this is someone we're allied with in disguise. We also got another extension to the Cloud and Tifa hand grab scene, as this part of it is before the steps are taken out by the gunfire. Cloud is hiding behind some pipes as the Shinra helicopter fires rounds into the pipes. This will likely transition into Tifa running towards Cloud, and the hand grab scene follows. Next up was a scene just before Jessie blows the wall up after the Sector 1 reactor, and it's just a bunch of dialogue between all the present members of Avalanche. It then transitions to them getting off the train and celebrating the reactor mission. There's only about a second of new scene here, as we see Biggs celebrating by himself. There was also the scene where Cloud and Rosche face off for the first time in the bike chase scene. It was slowed down just to show how nimble Cloud is when it comes to combat. He dives towards Rosche, gets blocked, and then flips over Rosche and lands gracefully on the back of his bike. It's hard to see without slowing it down, but Cloud's soldier enhancements are really shown off here. Overall, we didn't get an extreme amount of new stuff like we did with the first part, but it's awesome that they're adding so much depth and detail to the story and characters. I'm excited for the relationships between the characters to evolve as the story progresses, and watch these new and expanded scenes unfold. We're only 17 days away from the promised reunion, and I can barely contain my hype. Thanks for sticking with me through this amazing journey we've been on. So what do you think, soldiers? Which characters are you excited to learn more about in Final Fantasy VII Remake? Before I go, I'd love to give a special shout out to my new patrons, Cybrid0 and Argon Wins. Thanks for making my dreams of becoming a full-time content creator that much closer to reality. Congratulations on your promotion to Soldier First Class. Shout out to Cybrid, Argon, and the rest of the ranks of Soldier. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to omni-slash that like button. Let me know in the comments section below which characters you're excited to learn more about in Final Fantasy VII Remake. Subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell to join the ranks of Soldier today. And for all the latest Final Fantasy VII Remake news, rumors, and trailers, I'm Soldier First Class, and I'm on to the next mission. Later, guys.